Hi everybody and welcome to Out of the Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Daily Racing Form handicapper Mike Beer and I will take a look at 3 major stakes races across the country, all of them scheduled for turf. In Southern California, the Grade 1 American Oaks and the Grade 3 Robert J. Frankel Stakes highlight the Saturday Santa Anita card, and at Gulfstream, the 2-mile H. Allen Jerkins Stakes. Craig Milkowski from TimeformUS projects the pace of the Eastview Stakes at Aqueduct on Saturday, plus best bets and horses to watch. So let's break Out of the Gate. We break out of the gate with our Horse Watch segment. Mike Beer, Naira analyst, you found something at the Big A.
Yeah, going back to last week, 2-year-old maiden special weight for New York breds. The horse's name is She Takes Charge. She's a first-time starter. The trainer's Dermot Magner, sort of a newer trainer to the circuit, but he's off to a pretty good start out on his own. Let's take a look at this filly's first start. She got a good trip in this race. Joel Rosario was in to ride. Just sat her on the rail just off the pace. He took her to the outside coming to the stretch, and she's just going to roll right by this field. A very easy debut win for this horse, who has a little bit of pedigree, too. There's pedigree for both turf and dirt, and this was a very promising debut for her. She's just going to run away from this field late. Very impressive performance. I believe Dermot Magner is a former Chad Brown assistant, so we may be hearing a lot more from this barn. We may be hearing a lot more from She Takes Charge in New York over the winter. My Horse Watch wasn't exactly Lazarus rising from the grave, but Todd Pletcher did resuscitate Cole Front's career off a dismal effort in the Grade 3 Bold Ruler Handicap. In his first start in over a year, Pletcher didn't panic. He regrouped, he sent him down to South Florida, and Cole Front responded with his 3rd graded stakes win. Let's go back to last week's Grade 3 Mr. Prospector Stakes. Cole Front was in a 5-wide chase on the backstretch. He got leaned on a little bit turning into the lane, but right here, John Velasquez puts the hammer down, and Cole Front extends in the last 1/8 of a mile, completing the 7 furlongs in 1:23 flat, good enough for a 1:03 buyer speed figure. This horse, Todd's been interested in stretching him out. When you look at his pedigrees, by Stay Thirsty, he wanted to go all day long. Out of a Mineshaft mare, Mineshaft, of course, Horse of the Year, wanted to go all day long. Maybe this horse will stretch out to at least a mile. And there are a couple of 1-turn mile races coming up at Gulfstream in the near future. The Fred Hooper on January the 26th, the Howell's Hope on February the 23rd. Maybe we'll see Cole Front in 1 or 2 of those races. But when the good Cole Front, the healthy Cole Front shows up, he is a very talented sprinter miler. Let's get to some handicapping. The DRF bet Saturday race of the day is the Grade 1 American Oaks at Santa Anita. Let's throw up the field for Saturday's DRF Bets Race of the Day. It's the Grade 1 $300,000 American Oaks. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. And for expanded stakes previews of many of the major stakes races all weekend long and lots more, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, the number 1 Kodiak West is scratched. We are still awaiting the status of the number 4 Amandine, who won so impressively on opening day at Santa Anita and is not yet scratched from the Grade 1 American Oaks. But let's talk about the 2 morning line favorites, beginning with the outside horse, California Gold Rush. I loved the ride she received in her most recent start, although that seems like forever ago. Yeah, they shipped her over to Belmont Park for the Sands Point way back in September, and we haven't seen her since. But let's go back to that Sands Point, because this was a nice performance. Second off the layoff for this filly, who had missed some time earlier this year. She got a very heads-up ride from Flavien Prat in this race, because the pace wasn't there early. He put her into the race at the right time, and California Gold Rush will do the rest. You can see her digging in very gamely here, Dan, to hold off this rival in the stretch. And it's nice to know that she has that tactical gear, because I have no idea where the pace is coming from in the American Oaks. There just doesn't appear to be a confirmed front runner, and I guess if California Gold Rush breaks running, she could be sitting 1st or 2nd, and they may not be going very fast. Another horse with good tactical speed is very consistent, and that's Paved, and she's taken on some top competition at 1.25 miles. Yeah, I think you want to forgive her for her most recent start where they shipped her to Churchill for the Breeders' Cup. She was nowhere that day, but you don't have to go back very far in her PPs to get a good race. Let's go 2 back and look at the Grade 1 Rodeo Drive. Older horses here. She's in against a streaking Vasilika. She can't get her at the end, Dan, but she runs really well in here to be second best at the end of the day, gaining ground every step. 98 by her speed figure. She runs a 98 on Saturday. She's a handful in this race.
She has never been off the board at Santa Anita, and again, this 1.25 mile distance is very good for paved. Another horse that can be tactical and may not be adversely affected if the pace is slow. Our horse, by the way, she's a one-run closer, but boy, has Colonia been good.
Yeah, I think you want to be at least a little concerned about the way this race is going to set up for Colonia because she's a one-run closer. The pace could really work against her, but I was really taken with her most recent race, Dan. First of all, she was behind California Gold Rush in that stands point we looked at before. I didn't think that race set up well for her at all, but she ran a deceptively good race. Let's look at her most recent start. Keeneland, Valley View, down towards the inside, behind horses here with nowhere to go. Joe Bravo is going to make this trip work out for her somehow in the stretch stand. She keeps finding lanes to run, and run she does.
Every move was the right one, and Bravo was very fortunate because if he went the wrong way, even for a second, this horse would have gotten checked. We see Daddy's Little Darling, I believe, crash over the rail. All she did was return to run second in Southern California with a 100 buyer. But I love the way Colonia was able to weave her way professionally through traffic and still fire on home. She doesn't have a lot of pace, however, and we're looking back in Formulator. Graham Motion, just a fantastic trainer. I believe has won for his last 50 at Santa Anita. We're hoping he can get off the schneid with Colonia, our top selection in the American Oaks. Craig Milkowski from TimeformUS heads back east. He's going to take a look at the pace projector for the Eastview Stakes. Then we'll go to break, and we'll come back for lots more handicapping, so stay right there.
Hi, this is Craig Milkowski at TimeformUS for this week's edition of Out of the Gate. In this segment, I like to take a look at races with a particular focus on the TimeformUS pace projector. And for that reason, I went with the Eastview Stakes being run Saturday at Aqueduct as race 6. It's a $100,000 stakes race for 2-year-old New York bred fillies going around the one-turn mile. A few things I want to look at on the preview page just so you can see why I picked it. The pace projector is highlighted. You notice the red C details. That's going to indicate that we expect the pace to be fast. And then I went and highlighted some of the horses where I think the reason that the pace projector thinks that. You can see their running style. We have 2 speeds and a leader. These are horses that really want the lead. Leaders want it at all costs. Speed horses are ones that generally run their best when up in the front. And then we even have a couple trackers. Those are horses that like to lay just off the pace, and they usually make their move sooner rather than later in the stretch. So let's take a closer look now at that pace projector. And I did highlight some of the horses on here. It does show the number 6 getting the clear lead, who we're going to look at more closely here in just a second. You can also see a few horses aren't included because they're just not fast enough. We list them as deep closers, and those are the 3 and the 9 horses. That horse we showed in the lead, you can tell by my past performance here that the post positions that have been assigned, but the program numbers have not. But they generally correspond, and this is number 6, Sassy Agnes. And one look at her PPs, and you can see it's kind of hard to argue that she is going to be on the front. She's a horse who sprinted every time out in her career. In fact, she's never been longer than 6 furlongs. When she does so, she's done it going fast. You can see a lot of her pace fractions. The pace figures are in red, indicating that the pace was fast for that race. And just the raw number, the 143 last time, the 131 the time before that. So yeah, this is one really quick filly. I've also highlighted something interesting. Her last 2 TimeformUS speed figures of 110 and 112 are better than anything else any horses running this field. This was dubbed, don't want to be a liar here, but I think it was Andy Beyer who dubbed this a double advantage horse. But in this case, this isn't a horse I'm going to be interested in, partly because of that pace projector, thinking it's going to be a fast pace. And she just looks like a horse to me that's going to have trouble getting a mile. She's shown a little bit of trouble last time as that pace got quicker, and I'm just not sure she wants this far. Another horse from the pace projector we want to look at is Shelly Ann. This is a horse that only run 2 times. Last time broke her maiden after not such a great start first time out, showed a little speed before quitting bad. But last time she put it all together, sat right off a fast pace and was able to win. But once again, that was at a sprint. Her debut was at a mile. And I think she's just going to have a tough time dealing with the horse we just looked at in the previous slide, Sassy Agnes, who was just really quick. It's kind of hard to stretch out this quick right off the maiden win and face a rival this fast. So I'm going to be against her, thinking that she's probably going to have a little tough time adapting. Another horse who's drawn outside, the number 10 in the pace projector, is Take Me Hard Noon. And we see a little bit of the same thing. She was chasing fast fractions last time. And you'll notice when she was in the Grade 1 for Zed, won by eventual Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner Jaywalk. Even though she wasn't up on the lead, I think it was just a case of being outrun by better fillies. She just lost ground at every call before eventually being basically distanced. And I think she's another one that really is going to want to be up on the front. One of the other horses I highlighted on that front page as being part of the pace, but I want to put a word of caution out there, is Elegant Zip. She was the 4 horse on the pace projector. And the interesting thing about her is her best races in the past performances do come earlier in her career where she was up close to the pace. But one thing to note, when she stretched out to a mile, and that's the race I have highlighted, she had no problem rating off a moderate pace. So I don't really expect her to be part of the pace, and I think she may actually benefit from it, even though she is one of the reasons we think there's a fast pace. She looks pretty versatile. I'd be a little worried if she didn't have the same rider, but Manny Franco has ridden her recently, and he's also riding her on Saturday. So she is a horse that I like. But now let's get to the one that I really like, and that is Three Birds. I think this horse is going to be a bit of a price. If you noted on the preview page, she has the best late pace, TimeformUS late pace rating in the field, and I just really like how she's been running lately. It might seem a little odd for a speed figure maker like myself to pick a horse that's so far behind the top speed figure, with her best being only a 93, but I think this is a case where she's an improving filly. I really like, you can see she's getting better every single time out based on her TimeformUS speed figures. The distance hasn't been a problem. And I really like how she ran last time, where she was up against a slow pace, as you can tell by the pace figures being highlighted in blue. I have my past performances set to show the leader's pace figure because I like to get a good picture in my head of what the race shape looked like. You can change it to see the horse's pace figures if you like, but I recommend this method. And I really like the way this horse was able to make a good run. She wasn't able to handle eventual winner Forever Changed, who pulled away a little bit late. But I really like this filly in here. I think she's going to be a big price, and she will be my top pick. That's it for TimeformUS's segment this week, and there'll be more right after this.
DRF Sports Form Digital Edition, your ultimate weekly betting guide. Published by Daily Racing Form, DRF Sports Form delivers all of the analysis and insight you need for every NFL game and more than 40 college football matchups. Beat the spread with powerful trends and sharp angles. Tap into best bets, expert picks, parlay winners, and more. All for just $4.99 per issue. Get this week's edition free. Visit drf.com/sportsform. Enter code DRF Sports.
Are you a horse player looking to raise your game? For over 120 years, expert handicappers have relied on Daily Racing Form as their must-have source for news and data, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures, TimeformUS pace figures, and integrated replays. DRF Formulator is the most powerful handicapping tool on the market today. Use what the pros use. Go to drf.com/formulator and enter code DRFTV to get your first card free. drf.com. Raise your game.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 3 Robert J. Frankel Stakes. Fillies and mares going 9 furlongs at Santa Anita, carded as race number 4. For expanded stakes previews of many of the major races this weekend, including the Robert J. Frankel Stakes and lots more, head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, you remember the 4 Fahan Mura from New York, and if you were just in a coma and you woke up and you realized that Fahan Mura was a graded stakes placed and favored in the Robert J. Frankel, you'd say, what has happened to the world?
Ain't that the truth? She was not this good a horse on the East Coast to start her career, but she's really improved since they shipped her out to Southern California, just running one good race after another, one fast race after another, and she's really used her speed to her advantage in those races. We're going to go back and look at a replay. 2 starts back on her card. This is the grade 2 Goldakova. They put her right on the lead. That's what they do with her out there. She made a legit pace in this race, and she is just going to get run over late by another East Coast transplant, Vasilika, who's just another horse on a really good run out there. I thought Fahan Moura ran really well in this race, Dan. The difference, I guess, here is that this race is at a mile. They've mostly kept her to a mile out there. She will try to get a mile and an eighth on Saturday. I wonder if that brings her back to this field a little bit.
That's what concerns me as well, but that race is certainly good enough to win the Frankel. 99 Beyer, 124 time form pace adjusted speed figure, and she could be out there on the lead once again. Her subsequent start just in a little bit too tough, where she had to go a little bit too fast in the grade 1 matriarch, but she fits great from a class perspective in this spot. But you know she's going to take money. She's the morning line favorite, probable favorite at post time. You're going to try to beat her with a horse that might be primed and ready second start back.
Yeah, I like Sweet Charity in this race. Just hoping that she's second off the layoff here, and maybe she takes a little bit of a step forward. I don't think she has to take a big one, just a little step forward in this race, especially with Fahan Moura in here providing some pace for her to run at. Sweet Charity's start off the layoff. We're going to look at it right now, a little stakes race at Del Mar, and she's back off the pace in this race, staying towards the inside. You can see Excellent Sunset also in this field is taking over the lead. That's Sweet Charity right there coming through between horses. Quebec on the outside. I like the way Sweet Charity finishes in this race, Dan. She's only clear right here. She's finally clear to start running, and she's going to put in a nice finish in this race. Can't get to the top 2 finishers out in front here, but she's making up ground every step of the way. I like this performance from her.
Just think, this was her first start off about a 10-month layoff. She was rolling into a race with no pace, and the extra distance really plays into her favor. She's not a great gate horse. She's probably going to be coming from well back, but you can expect a good, strong late run for Sweet Charity, and these connections have been on quite the roll the last 6 months. Horses like Accelerate and Catalina Cruiser and Giftbox, who won the San Antonio on opening day at Santa Anita. I'm going with a little bit of a flyer for the number 3 Quebec in here. We saw Quebec in that race. That was 2 starts. That was last time out for Quebec, and she just didn't fire. She was in a great spot turning into the stretch, and she was just a little bit flat. But 2 starts back, she gave Fahan Moura all she could handle and then some with a really nice in-out trip. She only got beat a half length by Fahan Moura and galloped out past that one. I'm interested in this formulator fact for Richard Baltas. Blinkers off has been a very powerful move for Baltas on turf, as you can see over the past couple of years. Blinkers off, 33% winners, a $3.09 return on investment. I'm hoping the blinkers off move sparks some improvement for Quebec, who should be in mid-pack and might be able to get the jump on the true closers, as they all have to try to run down Fahan Moura in the Robert J. Frankel. We move from Santa Anita, we move to Gulfstream Park. It is going to be the 2-mile H. Allen Jerkin Stakes. Let's throw up the field for the 16-furlong H. Allen Jerkin Stakes at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. It's carded as race number 10. $100,000 is the purse. For expanded stakes previews of many of the major races all weekend long, including the H. Allen Jerkins, where we talk about each horse in great detail, head on over to video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Mike, Nessie, the number 11, is a horse that's getting substantial class relief. He's been competing in 8 or 9 consecutive graded stakes races with varying amounts of success. Nessie is the kind of horse, though, that will stay. The 2 miles shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, it does feel like the 2-mile distance of this race should be okay for him, at least as okay as it is for anybody else in this race. And you're right, he's just been facing some, better horses lately. You go all the way back to last September. It's nothing but graded stakes races for this horse, including this race we're going to look at right now. They shipped him out to Southern California, the San Juan Capistrano. This race isn't what it used to be. This was not a strong field. Nessie was a very heavy favorite in this race, but he wins it easily. Dan runs right by this field in the stretch. This is 1 3/4 miles. The way he finishes this race off makes you feel like, okay, 2 miles should be all right for this horse. He's a contender in here, Dan, just not one that I necessarily want a short price on.
In my next handicapping book, Mike, the number 1 angle will be bet cutbacks at 2 miles. You're not going to get too many of them. You have sniffed one out, and you've sniffed one out at a price.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Camp Creek, because he's going to have to improve to win this race. But his most recent start at Woodbine, 2 miles and 1/4, and he got it done in this race. We're going to look at the replay now, and you can just see this horse staying on through the stretch. He's the big gray right in front already. He had a nice trip in this race. He took it over, and you're going to see him just keep going through the stretch. The horses in arrears of him will just keep getting further and further away as he stays on through the stretch. The distance is no problem for him. What I really like about this horse, that not only that he showed he can handle a distance of ground, but there was a time, you have to go back a couple years when he was a 3-year-old, it looked like this horse was going to turn out to be okay. He won a couple of nice races as a 3-year-old. He just couldn't put races together. 4 starts only last year, only 3 starts so far this year. I thought that last race maybe signals that he's back into good form, and I like him at this distance.
Nice to know that you don't have to worry about the distance. And when you have a Michael Maker trainee in a race like this, you don't really worry about the distance. Maker has sort of made a living claiming horses, stretching them out on the turf, and making hay. And he has done that with Solio, who he claimed and has turned into a multiple graded stakes placed runner on the turf and a stakes placed runner most recently on the dirt. We're going to go back to his race 2 starts back at Keeneland. It was only an allowance race. He was even money, but he was wide on the backstretch. The jock rode him with supreme confidence. 4 wide on the backstretch, 3 wide going into the 3rd turn, and you see him just running away from this field in the stretch. Maybe it wasn't the strongest field in the world, but this is the Solio that I've come to expect now in recent starts. He's the kind of horse that's going to give you a good, honest effort and hit the board, as he's done in his last 5 races. He has 2 prior wins at Gulfstream Park, and while he's the 9-to-5 morning line favorite, I wouldn't be surprised if Nessie takes a chunk out of that percentage come post time, and maybe Solio drifts up a point or 2. I think he's playable at around the 5-2 or 3-1 range. Best bets coming up. Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Mike Beer, NYRA analyst, you have something at the Big A on Saturday.
Yeah, race number 4 is a little claiming race at a 1-turn mile. I'm going to go with number 4, Maymo, in this race. A horse who just has been in good form basically all year long since they stretched him out over the summer. He won back-to-back races. He was claimed out of a start back in June at Belmont Park by Ray Handel. His most recent start for Handel came over a sloppy track. This horse does not like the slop. He didn't run well, but he's won both of his other New York starts for Handel, including this one. 2 starts back, 1-turn mile at Aqueduct, same conditions as today. He tracked the pace early, moved out through the turn, took it over, and runs away from this field in the stretch. This horse really likes the 1-turn route racing in New York. 4 nice wins already this year, routing on the dirt in New York, and this is just another one. He fits really well in this field. He's got to face a Linda Rice, big class dropper in this race, but if he can handle that horse, this horse is going to be tough to beat.
Really like the acceleration he showed in upper stretch in the race we're watching right now. Solid performance, really underrated trainer. Ray Handel knows what he is doing. My best bet is at Aqueduct, one of the 2 stakes races on the card. It's the East View for 2-year-old fillies, and my best bet's the number 10, Take Me to Hardoon, who beat the morning line favorite in the East View, the number 6, Sassy Agnes, in her career debut at Saratoga. Now, after that race, the plan was just going to keep her against New York breds in the Maid of the Mist, and instead Jeremiah Engelhardt shot for the moon and tried the Grade 1 Frisette, and she was no match for subsequent Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner Jaywalk. They dropped her back in class, they dropped her back in distance for her most recent start. We're going to take a look at a video right now where she finishes 3rd. Blinkers came on for this race, the 6-furlong Key Sense Stakes. She showed good speed, she was in between horses, she was outpaced on the turn, and we're going to see her stay on a little bit down towards the inside. She won't get to Sassy Agnes, but she finishes an okay 3rd. I like the way she galloped out. The mile is a little bit of a question mark, but I just think the trip is coming where she's going to sit 2nd off Sassy Agnes, and she may want the mile just a little bit more than Sassy Agnes. 4-1 on the morning line for number 10, Take Me to Hardoon, my best bet on Saturday. We thank you so much for watching Out of the Gate, and we urge you to follow all of DRF TV's offerings on Twitter. Follow at DRF Video. And for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority Daily Racing Form, follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. That's it for this week and for this year. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.